Wide World of Sports Ski World Telecast, presented by Quattro, Toyota and Bayview Harbour.
Hello, I'm Darryl Eastlake. Welcome to Nine's Wide World of Sports and our exclusive coverage of the very best of World Cup skiing. Tonight from Whistler Mountain, there's a name for you. The culmination of the men's downhill season, it's a showdown between two great skiers, Austria's Peter Wernsberger and Switzerland's Peter Mueller. We join our commentators Ken Reid and Brian Williams and that outstanding Canadian skier Ken Reid, who introduces you to what the races will see.
The 1986 Molson World Downhill at Whistler Mountain on the west side downhill. The start, 1,678 meters above the valley floor. The vertical drop, almost 1,000 meters, making it one of the longest downhills on the World Cup Tour. And it is certainly a challenging downhill, one of the best in North America. As the racer powers out of the start, he faces the first challenge immediately, double trouble. Two very difficult bumps, throwing the racer far down the piste with a very hard landing. On the upper third of this downhill, the racer searches for speed. It's relatively straightforward. They set up with a sweeping right-hand turn and come into the first technical challenge, the toilet bowl. A very tight S-turn where they have to really carry the speed they found on the upper third of the course through the short flat, and then they plummet through the weasel. Very steep, over two difficult jumps, and through a compression, a short flat, and then into the most difficult turn on the course, the follow-away, which carries the speed through a short flat and then onto the sewer. Here it really breaks out. The speeds accelerate through Coach's Corner, almost up to 140 kilometers an hour, and then onto the lower third of the Whistler downhill. Here, aerodynamics are a premium. You really have to flow with the terrain and keep in a tuck as low as possible. Through Fortness Corner, across timing flats, carrying the speed over the final challenge, Franz's Hop, the final bump before flashing across the finish. The Whistler downhill, one of the few downhills that still remains over 2 minutes. The course record, 2:02.85, set by Bill Johnson of the United States in the 1984 Molson World Downhill.
Weather conditions today, absolutely perfect. Below freezing here in the finish area. It should warm up, though, well above freezing by the time the race is over. The winds will not be a factor, and bright sunshine here in southwestern British Columbia. The starting order for the top seed, the first 15, Franz Heinzer from Switzerland is skier number 1. Skier number 2, and watch out for this fella today, one of the Austrians Ken alluded to in the Reed Report, the veteran Erwin Resch. Also from Austria, skier number 3, another great veteran, Anton Steiner. West German skiers are numbers 4 and 5. Number 4 is Sepp Weilgruber. And number 5 is Marcus Vosmeyer, who won a medal in the giant slalom at the World Championships last year in Bormio. Skier number 6, the man that has already clinched at least a tie for the World Cup downhill title. He had a good run to be second in Aspen last week. That, of course, is Peter Wernsberger with 4 straight victories in mid-season. The Swiss skiers return. Number 7 is Gustav Orly. Another Swiss skier in the number 8 position, the youngster Daniel Marr. the greatest skier in the entire world. Without question, the best all-round skier. Remember, he was second in the first race of the year in Val d'Isère. That is Marc Girardelli, the Austrian who skis for Luxembourg. Karl Elfiger has had a very disappointing season after winning the first two races, those two races last August, it seems like about 2 years ago, at Las Liñas in Argentina. Watch out for this fella here today. He usually does very well on courses like Aspen or Whistler. Michael Meyer, of course, who won a race earlier this year in Val d'Isère. Skier number 12, we go back to the Austrians, the veteran Leonhard Stock. Here he is, skier number 13, the man everyone is looking for, Peter Mueller. Doug Lewis, the only North American in the top seed, the first 15, and Herman Zurbriggen, who won one of the two training runs here. And we take a look at the World Cup standings as we go into the final race of the year. Once again, the story is Bernsberger and Mueller. Michael Meyer, very strong in third place. Girardelli showing this year he can indeed ski downhill. And the rest of the World Cup standings, Doug Lewis, the American in the number 15 position. Skier number 1 is 23-year-old Franz Heinzer from Rickenbach, Switzerland. A winner 3 weeks ago in Åre, Sweden, and we are officially underway for 1986 from Whistler.
Heinzer had a really good result in the second training run, third there. As he powers out of the start, you can see it's right away into trouble. It's double trouble off the top. He was good on both jumps, kept his upper body low, and really driving, trying to get as much speed as possible out of this upper part. We pick him up, coming into the fall-away section, made a good turn there. And through the fall away, it's important to carve the speed, carry the speed around onto a short flat, and coming into the sewer. Here, the course is icy. It's very, very slick. I just came down it, and it is going to be fast. Heinzer sitting up by the fence, carrying his speed around coach's corner.
Ken, this interval time is going to be very interesting. The best in practice was 1:32.70 by Mueller. Look at this. It is considerably faster, as you predicted today.
And it's going to get faster on the bottom. It is really slick. It gets a bit grippy through the last third of the downhill. Coming around Fortness Corner, it's important now. A little bit of trouble there, but really trying to hold the tuck and carry a smooth edge out across timing flats. Here is where it's going to be very fast. You see him just searching for speed, ducking his head. Now, Franz's Hop, they had no trouble with it in training. There may be some air today. Yes, there's some. The skis go up a bit.
Now, remember, the best time in practice was 2:13.60 by Mueller. He is considerably faster. In fact, Heinzer nearly 3 seconds faster than the best time in practice. It was Heinzer that beat Todd Brooker a couple of years ago in Val d'Isère. Here is Erwin Resch, skier number 2. Resch, a 25-year-old from Austria, has not done well here in practice this weekend. In fact, his best was 27th. And, of course, we all remember he was seriously injured here 2 years ago.
Had a very bad fall in the lower part, Fortness Corner. Really, since Kitzbühel, Resch has not been skiing well, and he's looking a bit tentative. The course conditions here have changed dramatically from training. They had good training, 2 training runs on Thursday, but the course is now slick. It's very fast, and you can see Resch is almost sliding. He's a bit intimidated, very wide on the fall-away. Yes, extremely wide, much wider than Heinzer. That's going to cost him coming across the short flat. And as he now drops over into the sewer, at the top of the sewer, it's probably close to 80 kilometers an hour coming around coach's corner. He didn't set up as much as Heinzer there. Speed is probably close to 140 kilometers an hour. Very, very fast as they just rocket over this super fast snow in the lower part of the downhill.
And he's nearly a second and a half behind at the interval.
Resch coming down towards Fortness Corner. This is where he had his injury, the bad fall in 1984. And through the lower part, he's really not being as aggressive as Heinzer. Heinzer really was fighting to stay in that tuck, searching for every second that he could find, and really trying to keep aerodynamic.
You hear this crowd. It's a big one. They say it will break the record crowd of 1984. And Ken, they're really taking air a lot more on the bottom part of this course than they did in practice. The time on the left belongs to Heinzer. Heinzer is well ahead, nearly a second and a half in front of Erwin Resch.
some people can turn dreams into reality. This is a place developed exclusively for them. Bayview Harbour on the Gold Coast is the finest residential marina complex in Australia. A host of activities exclusive to Bayview Harbour residents are at your doorstep, and so is the entrance to a boating paradise. Just 10 minutes north of Surfers Paradise lies Bayview Harbour, Australia's premier waterfront address.
Dynamic Corolla Seeker has fully independent suspension and wide track to keep it firmly on the ground. Seeker also has a super responsive 1.6-litre engine, so it'll really fly.
Is your rusty old guttering letting you down?
Cheer up your house with Alcan. Your home will be thankful, refurbished and completely tranquil.
Alcan rust-proof aluminium guttering is made at your place in continuous lengths for extra strength and fewer joins. It has a pre-painted finish with a 10-year warranty. Alcan install in a day and clean up afterwards.
Cheer up your house with Alcan. Get rid of the homesick blues.
For all your weekend sports, Channel 9. Saturday from 1 p.m., 5 hours of Aussies at play and sports around the world. What's happening, the action, and entertainment. Alfa Romeo bring you Wide World of Sports. And Sunday at 4 o'clock, it's Sports Sunday. And more of the best behind the scenes and the action as it happens. Join Mike Gibson and Ian Chappell. What a team. Every weekend, Saturday, it's Wide World of Sports 1 p.m. Then Sunday, Sports Sunday at 4 o'clock. Live on Channel 9.
Vernsberger will be skier number 6, and skier number 3, the Austrian veteran, 27-year-old Anton Steiner. He too has had a lot of trouble in practice here. His best practice time on Thursday was only 22nd.
You know, Brian, this one thing that really comes out when the course conditions change this dramatically is experience. And really, when someone has been on the World Cup as long as Steiner and some of these other skiers, Vernsberger and certainly Mueller, who comes later in the first group, these skiers have to learn. They know exactly how to accommodate the different conditions. And today, this course is likely to be 4 or 5 seconds faster than it was in training. The result is that it means things come at you much more quickly. Now, the course condition was also very, very hard. And look, we see them coming down through the Weasel. It's so spectacular as they drop over a jump through the compression in the bottom. Steiner skiing very smoothly. You see he's making no wild moves, very subtle and smooth, making nice, clean, carving, smooth moves with his skis. Coming through the fall-away. Very nice turn. Quickly down into his tuck. He's going to be carrying a lot of speed across that flat.
He won this year at Morzine, his first ever downhill victory. Ken, he's going to be very, very quick through this interval.
Setting up for Coach's Corner. What Steiner does well, and what he did very well in Morzine, is he carries the speed. He carves the ski well. We'll see how he compares at the interval.
Oh, he is way ahead, nearly a full second in front of Franz Heinzer.
He is moving so smoothly along this lower part of the downhill. Relatively flat, but again, it is so fast. You can see the skis are rattling over the very hard snow, and he has to carve that ski. You can't let it slide or you lose the speed. And Steiner is trying, you see him ducking his head. Arms are close together, trying to be as aerodynamic as he can. Coming up to Franz's hop. The last challenge. No problem over the first bump. No problem over the second. Coming to the finish.
Steiner has taken the lead by more than a second over Franz Heinzer. The Reed report dealt with the resurgence of the Austrian skiers, and Steiner certainly typifies that here today. The first of 2 West German skiers. This is 26-year-old Sepp Weilgruber, his 6th season on the World Cup. His best ever career downhill was second at Ferrano in 1985, a race, of course, won by Todd Brooker.
And we have got a
coming down towards the first jump of double trouble.
At the interval.
And Weilgruber's looking very tentative, really. He's got his upper body is a bit up coming over the bumps. Not as aggressive as Steiner and Heinzer. And again, it's very important to carry as much speed off the top third because it's straightforward.
At the young age of 27.
Not really being as aggressive as he should be. We've seen some good skiing from the early skiers. Drops over, setting up for the fall away, coming around. Very wide.
He's wide indeed. In fact, let's see now. Yes, Anton, or I should say Weilgruber, is off the course. So the fourth skier down today, Sepp Weilgruber from West Germany, goes wide. We expect to see a few skiers fall today. Another of the West German skiers, Weilgruber, off. This is his teammate, skier number 5, Marcus Vosmeyer, 22 years of age, a gold medalist in the giant slalom at the 1985 World Championships in Bormio, Italy.
Now, interesting situation here, Brian. Vosmeyer is a very good technical skier, which means he should be able to handle the tough, icy lower part of this course. However, he's not an experienced downhiller, and that is what is a real challenge for these guys today. The course has changed so much.
And as we look at Vosmeyer, let's bring Todd Brooker in. He joins us in the broadcast booth. Todd is on crutches. Just over a week ago, underwent knee surgery in California by the famed Dr. Stedman, who also worked on Ken Reed. Todd, talking with the doctor last week in Colorado, he says the surgery was a great success.
Well, that's right, Brian. He's given me a lot of reason to be really positive about my operation. And now I think for the first time in I don't know how long, I think I'm really going to be able to ski 100% and feel good about my knee and hopefully have no more problems with it.
You were telling me earlier maybe you should have had this done a couple of years ago.
Well, yeah, I think I've just had so much problems, so many recurring things, and now I'm really happy I've had it done.
Picking up Vosmeyer now coming through the sewer. This is where he should really shine if he's been able to handle this changed condition. Little bit tentative, the arm was up. And we'll see how he's handled it coming to the interval time now. And you know, Brian, Steiner has had an exceptional run. Look at this, 1.8 behind. Steiner has really taken advantage of his ability and technique and that experience to really ski this course well.
The question is, will Peter Mueller be able to beat that very fast time set by Steiner? You are looking right now at Vosmeyer. Mueller will be skier number 13. Zurbriggen is skier number 15. Up next will be Peter Wernsberger, who has already clinched at least a tie for the downhill title.
Through the final part, Vosmeyer is skiing. He's a bit behind and won't be catching the leaders today. In 2:12.
So it is still Steiner the leader, followed by Heinzer from Switzerland. Here is the downhill leader, Peter Wernsberger, the 27-year-old from Werderberg, Austria. Wernsberger, with that incredible 4 straight victories, including back-to-backers at Kitzbühel, has already tied for the downhill title. The question now, will Mueller, who is skier 13, be able to catch him?
You know, Wernsberger really surprised me last weekend in Aspen. He's had real difficulty with that course there, and he showed the competitiveness that has made him the World Cup champion for this year. He rose to the challenge, came second on a course he's always had trouble with. Now, he should be able to take advantage of this course as well. He knows he has won the title, and they've only had 2 training runs. He is such an experienced competitor. He should be able to take it. And he was very low on coming into the weasel there. That's going to cost him a lot of time. The course conditions have changed so much. That is really the most important element of today's race because it is so much faster and you have to anticipate everything a little earlier, anticipate the bumps, and really be aggressive.
Ken, with the course changing, what will that mean for the young Canadians? I'm thinking of Boyd, Stemo, Belchuk, who are coming down well out of the first seed.
Well, it's a little bit tougher for them because they don't have as much experience. However, I like the way the course is today because it suits their style of skiing. We saw last weekend in Aspen, they had some trouble with the softer snow. Today it's hard, and they know how to really fight on conditions like that.
Wernsberger is very, very slow, Ken. He's nearly a second and a half behind his teammate, the leader Steiner, at the interval.
So Wernsberger is he's not going to be able to catch Steiner on the bottom, which means he had to win if he wanted to fend off Peter Mueller. He's going to have to rely on Steiner. We can see he might be able to hang on to a top 3 position.
And remember, folks, Mueller won a training run and was second to Zurbriggen in the other. The atmosphere is electric here as Vernsberger comes down, and this big crowd awaiting Peter Mueller. Vernsberger is skier 6. Mueller will be number 13. The time on the left belongs to Steiner. Vernsberger is not a factor in this race today.
The great bookie robbery was over. The perpetrators in paradise.
We got back.
But now the holiday was over.
Don't be greedy. 12 million's enough for all of us.
And the war begun.
You missed, you stupid bastard!
I say we kill the pair of them.
Now we'll get the bastards. Annie, what do you want them to do? Walk all over us? I don't know her anymore.
The devastating finale to the great bookie robbery.
This'll all be over in a day or two.
It better be.
Concluding tomorrow night at 8:30 on Channel 9.
Mr. Salter?
Yes?
You're 11 o'clock's early, you're 10:30's late, and your 2 o'clock's cancelled.
Dad, can we make that 1 o'clock 1:15?
No, son. I've got my 12 o'clock at 1:15 and
In
I
a
can't
world
do
that's
it.
always running
No.
late, isn't it nice to know
Job
there's
3
one
o'clock
business
would be
running
okay.
like clockwork?
10:45. Now that'll be Snap.
Snap.
Good morning.
The on-time printer.
ready and they look great.
A fast, first-class job every time.
Jack, your wife's on 1, lawyer's on 2, and your colour brochures are on time.
At Snap, on time's the only time we know.
At Carrington's restaurant, maitre d' Dennis Jean insists every meal should be served as a special occasion. Personal attention and exquisite food make Carrington's one of the finest a la carte restaurants in Brisbane. Carrington's.
Skier number 7 from Switzerland, Gustav Orly. He has had 5 top 15 finishes so far this season.
Well, Early's got an unusual style, which really might suit him well on today's course because he really stands on the outside ski. And today, you cannot let that ski slide at all. Might ask Todd, how do you find the course conditions today as compared to the 1984 course, which of course you finished, I believe, 4th in that race?
Yeah, that's right. Well, we had a really warm day that year. I think the course conditions this year are just absolutely fantastic, a lot harder, and I think the course in general is going to be a lot tougher than it was back then, mostly because of the speed.
You know what? I think this is a course that some crazy fellas like Reed and Brooker might like to ski on.
I should have been out there. I know that much for sure, Brian.
Todd, when do you expect to be back on skis again?
Well, I'm hoping I can start skiing again in June, and it'll most likely be up here in Whistler. We had a very successful training camp here in June last year for about 3 weeks, and that'll be a great place to start off again this year.
All right, Orly very, very wide. Ken, they're all coming wide on that turn.
The skiers that are getting fairly tight, the ones that don't disappear behind the crowd, are getting a good line. They're carrying the speed out through the fall away and out onto that short flat, and it's critical because you can really have the tense tick away if you've made a mistake, if you slid around the side of the side hill.
130.26 belongs to the leader, Steiner. Orly not bad at all, 3rd fastest so far, but it gives you an idea how good Steiner is. He's got the 3rd best time at the interval Orly does, and he is nearly a 2.5 behind.
Steiner has skied an exceptional race up to now, but really the question is, can Peter Mueller, the old competitor, can he come down and catch him running out of the 13th position? Early he's still a bit inexperienced. It's been a while since he's been back in the first seat. He's had a good year, good result in Morzine, but really the course conditions, again, have changed so much. You've got to rely on that experience to handle that change.
Let's see, he was 1.31 seconds behind at the interval. He really lost it on the bottom part of this course, and it's the bottom part of this course that Steiner was so strong on. Skier number 8, also from Switzerland, from Chur, Switzerland, is 23-year-old Daniel Marr. Now, he was 7th and 14th in the 2 practice runs here on Thursday.
Marr looking to continue his good result that he picked up in Aspen, finishing 4th over double trouble. Very nice on the bumps. He has his hands good and low by the boots. Very relaxed and smooth landing. That means by being smooth in the air, he's going to carry that much more speed as he comes out across the short flat. We pick them up coming into the technical section. Letting the skis skid a little bit, and that's going to cost him some time as he sets up coming around into the weasel. They drop over. Good line, setting up for the bump, and they go through a compression, really accelerate as they plummet down through the weasel. And of course, the light changes. They go from sunlight into darkness. They lose the sunlight, and the visibility causes some difficulty because you can't see as clearly as you might. Very, very wide in this following. Really wide. He really made a mistake coming over the edge. And you can almost see he's much slower than the earlier racers. That is going to cost him dearly.
Ken, what kind of an effect has this had, and I'd be interested in hearing from Todd, the fact that they were only able to practice here on Thursday, no practice Wednesday, nothing yesterday?
Well, I think that's going to hurt the younger guys, that's for sure, and a lot of our Canadians. But I think for the more experienced guys, especially for Mueller and Würzburg and so on, it's not all that big a factor because they know the course well, and I think they can handle it after only a couple runs.
Marr is skier number 8. Still to come, Peter Mueller in the number 13 position as the excitement builds here at Whistler. Will Mueller get his 4th downhill title?
I think Mara realizes he's made a mistake. Look at that. He's really trying to get his head down, hands up. I think he knows he made a terrible mistake on the exit of the fall-away, and that has cost him a lot.
Up and heads towards the bottom.
Ken, it's cost him indeed. Time on the left of 209.78 belongs to the rather surprising leader, Anton Steiner from Austria. Here is without question the best all-round skier in the world. This is the Austrian, Mark Girardelli, who, of course, is skiing for Luxembourg.
This is one of the other interesting stories. There's so much focus on who is going to win the World Cup. Girardelli, who is the overall World Cup champion and an exceptional slalom and giant slalom skier, may be able to get 3rd place, the bronze medal in the World Cup Downhill Championship. And that is something that people would have said is impossible at the beginning of this season.
He's a chain skier, Ken. I know you dealt with him earlier this season on the Reed Report. He's always been very aloof, but noticing him in the hotel lobby last night, very anxious to sign autographs for the youngsters, I think for the first time maybe really enjoying himself on the World Cup circuit.
Well, I think he enjoys skiing in North America because there's good reaction. People, they enjoy a person who has good talent, and he's such an exceptional skier, and he's done well here in North America as well. And so he's looking for a good result here today. Little bit wide on the fall-away. One of the difficulties that Girardelli is going to have today is because, again, of these changed conditions. It's so different. He doesn't have as much time to do training in downhill because he's trying to run all events. And he is an exceptional skier in all 4 of the events, and that is why he is leading the World Cup overall standings. But he's 2nd at the interval, 0.8 behind. That's quite something. Steiner has had an exceptional race today, and Girardelli is letting it go. Again, technical ability is really coming through. Bit of a mistake there. He swung very wide. You can see he was much wider than the tracks that were in the snow from the earlier skiers. That may hurt him because down here he's coming across timing flats, and it is very flat. He won't carry as much speed as Steiner. Pushing towards Franz's Hop. Little bit of difficulty. No, he handled the second one very well, but can he stay in the top 3? He has to pick up some points if he gets that to get that bronze medal.
The new Toyota Extra Track. When the unexpected happens, it keeps you in control. Toyota Extra Track. You can't beat it.
Oh, what a feeling!
Unbeatable traction.
Toyota.
Bayview Harbour on the Gold Coast has been developed exclusively for those who know that dreams can be turned into reality. This is the finest residential marina complex in Australia. A luxury apartment at Bayview Harbour guarantees you the best of everything. Invest in a lifestyle that's a cut above the rest. Bayview Harbour on the Gold Coast, Australia's premier waterfront address.
In only 1 year, As many as 79 Australian children under the age of 4 have drowned in private pools. It only takes a moment's distraction, as little as 5 seconds, for them to wander innocently beyond help. So don't let your child become a statistic. Call ARC now for a quote on an approved ARC pool safety fence.
Hi, viewers. Everybody's been doing it.
Well, hello, viewers.
As a matter of fact, Australians have been doing it for 30 years.
Can you believe your own eyes?
And on Friday night, you can do it some more when Channel 9 premieres a nostalgic and delightful look at television the first 30 years. Presented by Ray Martin and featuring a host of Australia's most watched stars.
We'll pause at the significant, the humorous, the historic, and the outrageous. If you like, a bit of the magic and the memories that have coloured that far from black and white era.
If it was uncomfortable for you, I can assure you it was worse for me.
£574.80 will take you right around the world by Qantas.
From the team who brought you so many of Australia's most entertaining specials comes yet another.
Oh, I can't do it, I'm scared.
Television the first 30 years.
An all-Australian production.
Brought to you by Toyota Land Cruiser, 8:30 Friday night on Channel 9.
Fella I've been looking forward to seeing all week. This is Karl Alpiger from Switzerland, who won the 2 races last summer at Las Linas, has done very little since. But Ken has been rather strong here in practice this week, 5th in both runs.
Strong, and again, we mentioned last weekend from Aspen that he seems to do well when he gets out of Central Europe. He did well in Sweden, did well in Aspen last weekend, and now may be able to do it again here today. Skiing the upper part, a little bit tentative. The exceptional difference of this course, and that is the story here today, is it's so much harder. You can hear Alpiger's skiers chattering over the snow. Drops over into the Weasel. Very wide. Had to really set up for the gate. That will cost him some time through the compression. And as he sets up, through here, timing is very important. Sliding sideways, not as smooth as he might like to be. It'll probably swing a little bit wide in the fall-away. And out onto the short flat. Now accelerating down through the sewer. And set up far to the left-hand side, coming around Coach's corner. Alpiger is not having a really good, smooth run.
Time on the left, the best interval time belongs to the runaway leader, Anton Steiner from Austria. Alpiger is no threat here today. Now, Alpiger is skier number 10. Up next, the big Italian, Michael Meyer, followed by Stock, then Mueller, then Dougie Lewis, who's been good in practice, and finally, Perman Zurbriggen, who won a training run here Thursday.
Alpiger was skidding again as he came around Fortness corner. Really, he's not making up any time on Steiner. Steiner, again, has had that really those smooth, carved turns. He's carried the speed all the way through this course, but particularly on the bottom, he's been exceptionally fast. Not going to be able to catch Steiner here today.
Will anyone catch Anton Steiner? Steiner with more than a 2-second lead over Karl Alpiger. Up next is the big Italian, Michael Meyer, one of the largest skiers on the circuit. He won this year at Val d'Isere, and I know Todd Brooker, a great friend of yours and a great favorite of yours.
Well, you know, when you get 110 kilos of spaghetti going downhill at once, gravity's really on his side. But, you know, Michael's one of the nicest guys in the World Cup circuit and a real favorite of mine, and someone who's done tremendously well this year.
He skied those upper bumps on Double Trouble very well. He kept himself low, good landings, and look at the way he keeps those shoulders low. He's got a lot of weight, as Todd said, that goes with him, and his style of skiing is he really stands on it. He's not the type of skier who really spends a lot of time trying to hold his tuck. A little bit lower coming through the Weasel there, recovered nicely, and he's carrying the speed. The setup coming in. Very smooth setting up, hit the edges hard there, but he's got a good line coming through the fall-away.
And again, we can't emphasize how tough it is for a big man. And I don't mean a fat man, I mean a big man. He's big-boned, he's tall, he's heavy. He has to work so very, very hard coming through these tight areas.
He's making some nice turns down here, Brian, really carrying the speed. You see, he's not in a low tuck, but it's more important to carve a smooth edge. And look at that, half a second behind Steiner. But Steiner has skied exceptionally well, really was rolling with the terrain on this lower part. We'll have to see if he can make up time on the lower part here. Steiner was so low, really carving the skis around.
The crowd sensing that this is going to be very, very close. Ken, he's got a real chance of catching Steiner.
A little open over the jumps. Again on the second one, he was not as good as Steiner was. No! No! That was... Whoa!
And Meyer through the fence. Word we have is, though, that he is okay. He is not injured as we go back up to the top. Skier number 12 is Leonhard Stock, the 27-year-old from Finkenberg, Austria. You know, people have been saying all week, and they were saying it last week in Aspen, they expect Stock to be a spoiler in these last two races, and in fact, he was third 1 week ago today.
Brian, he could do very well here today. Well, he's good on double trouble. And I say he could do well here is because Stock is an exceptional technical skier. He really knows how to stand on that ski and not let them slide as they come around. He's done very well in Super G, made a real resurgence in downhill this year. The only difficulty Stock might have today is because of these changed conditions. But again, he is a very experienced racer. He's been on the World Cup for a good number of years, well known for his Olympic victory in Lake Placid in 1980. But on similar conditions, a very technical course, and what he won that race on was really standing and carving the skis. Made a good turn there, setting up nicely for the follow-away. Yes, he's quickly into his tuck. He'll be carrying the speed across the flat. And now it's so slick. I came down here, and I have sharp edges on my skis, and I had trouble making my skis even side slip. I was all over the place coming down the sewer. It is so slick on this lower part of the course.
The pictures are almost deceiving. I skied this course earlier in the week, albeit very slowly. The thing that struck me, look, he is second by only 2/100ths of a second. The thing that struck me, Ken, is how steep this course is.
It's a very steep, challenging course, 1,000 meters from top to bottom. Stock is skiing very well. However, Steiner skied the bottom part exceptionally well. He was in his tuck a lot. Stock has not been in his tuck as much as Steiner. That's important. They're both similar skiers. They know how to carve the ski. Steiner was really fighting for those hundreds. He was in a much lower tuck than Stock. And he didn't have as much Stock sitting back. Recovered off the second bump, but almost went down. This could be close, but I think Steiner may have him.
Wow. The air he took as Costin. He is third. It is Steiner, Meyer, and Stock. And here is what we have all been waiting for. Peter Mueller, staging one of their great comebacks in the history of World Cup skiing. See the left arm, there's a cast over the wrist with a broken bone underneath. A tremendous feat to win at Aspen with that broken left arm.
You know, Brian, this is where mental toughness comes in. Peter Mueller would know that the best time posted so far is already 4 seconds faster than in training. He also knows that he has to handle the changed conditions of this course. He wasn't really smooth on the upper bumps, but he is such a competitor. He was second in the first training run, first in the second training run on Thursday, and he is looking to try to capture his 4th World Cup downhill championship. 1979, 1980, where I had a nice running battle with him and finished second to him, and he tied Steve Podborski in 1982, so he's looking for that 4th one. Skiing very nicely. Hit there, but that's not a problem. Setting up for the follow-away. And if he's, yes, quickly into his tuck, much higher line than anyone else so far. He carved a very good turn, recovered well from hitting his skis on the entrance. Holding his tuck, setting up by the fence. Mueller just seems to know how much he has to carve those skis, and when it's hard, he still can stand on it and really let it go.
Look at this, Mueller. Mueller is doing it. Incredibly, he is ahead by nearly a half second at the interval.
Skiing very well. Now, what Steiner did was he really let them go. He fought to stay in his tuck, and you can see that Mueller is doing it as well.
Ken Reed, it looks like he is going to pull off the miracle and tie for the downhill title. The crowd is sensing it.
He's in trouble. He's down. That is it all. What disappointment. He was trying too hard. Just like in Sweden, he had the race won, and he was just trying too hard. Coming over, he sat back off the first bump and going back on the tails of his skis. Some of the earlier skiers had made that mistake, but he could not recover. And look where the skis are, way up in the air, and he's down. Terribly disappointing because it was his race. He had it won.
Wednesday.
She's really whacked, running them by herself.
The new bloke will be here soon. Real hotshot, apparently.
The new doctor arrives.
Jeffrey Standish. I'm here to join the staff.
He has high hopes.
You missed something out there, Chris. Is he married?
And a past to forget.
No.
A fallen hero returns.
Stir it up. This isn't some trendy puff from the city, love.
It's a medical problem. There's nothing you can do about it.
Only to be outcast when the Flying Doctors continue. 7:30 Wednesday on 9.
Lovely day.
We invite you to visit Forest Place, 24 acres of country club-style living.
Here, you two have never been happier.
With every comfort and facility provided in a number of different self-contained units and serviced apartments. Open 9 to 5 daily. We invite you to find out why every day is a lovely day at Forest Place. Come and see for yourself, but be careful, you won't want to leave.
The Toyota Bandera has the go-anywhere toughness and ability of Land Cruiser with the freedom of the wind in your hair. Toyota Bandera, you can't beat it.
Oh, what a feeling. Unbeatable freedom. Toyota.
Got my matches, got my coffee, got my alarm clock. Oh, g'day. Just checking my stay awake gear. And if you do, you could win a new Toyota in the Toyota Dusk to Dawn Dialer Dealer Show in this Friday's all-night movies on 9. Call the hotline between 5 p.m. and 5 a.m. for a valuation, and you could win prizes from Sony and Singapore Airlines, or your choice of a Toyota Corolla, Hilux or Lidace. Over $30,000 in prizes. See you Friday!
Oh, what a feeling. Toyota.
Here is Doug Lewis from Vermont. Doug is 21 years of age from Salisbury, Vermont. They're talking about Billy Johnson. Johnson coming on strong last week at Aspen and has been very strong here in practice this week. Ken, though, you have been impressed by Lewis on this course.
Very impressed. He's got the type of technique that he can really do well on this type of a downhill. He's technically very sound. The problem that Lewis has is sometimes he's too aggressive. Now, if he does that today, what he needs to do is just simply relax and let the skis do the work. Coming through the sewer. Setting up nicely, swung a little bit, caught his edge there. The problem he has is sometimes he's just too aggressive, and if you just relax and let them do the work, and he's 2 seconds behind in 11th place, looks like Doug is not going to be a factor today.
Peter Mueller is down. Stay with us. Still to come, Zurbriggen and the Canadians. Bernsberger has won the downhill title. We still have a race here. You will be hearing from Steiner, some of the Canadians, and of course Peter Mueller. Steve Armitage standing by in the finish area, and just as soon as Mueller regains his composure and is able to talk, you will hear from the man that put on such a great show here this season.
Lewis handling Franz's up without any difficulty. Unfortunately, he will not be catching the leaders today.
Doug Lewis into the number 10 position, but he is more than 2.5 seconds behind the leader, Anton Steiner. Well, Ken Reed, we all figured that Mueller might be able to catch Steiner. How about Perman Zurbriggen? Mueller won a training run on Thursday, and Zurbriggen won the other one. And Zurbriggen's had a bitterly disappointing year. Would be a nice way for Zurbriggen to finish this season.
Well, it would be a nice way for the Swiss to be able to maybe act as a bit of a spoiler to an Austrian party, because, of course, Steiner leading at the moment. Wernsberger now is alone on top of the World Cup downhill standings. Last year, it was a real Swiss show. They won everything. And this is the kind of course that Zurbriggen can do well on, because he is an exceptional technical skier. He really knows how to stand on that ski and make sure that as he comes around on the turns, he doesn't let it slide. Standing sixth, just slightly under a second behind at the interval. If he can keep down in his tuck, and that again is what Steiner did so well in the lower part of this course. He was turning, but he was in his tuck as much as he could, really searching for the aerodynamics.
Todd Brooker said it's going to be tough for the younger skiers. I am looking forward to seeing how they handle this course, because it is becoming tougher, if anything, as the day wears on. The story so far has been Anton Steiner.
Long jump by Zurbriggen off the second bump of Franz's hop.
And Zurbriggen goes into the fourth position, so after the first C, a simply amazing run by the Austrian veteran Anton Steiner. Steiner with the Italian Meyer second, and Stock standing third. Once again, Peter Mueller fell. Here is the Olympic champion, Billy D. Johnson. Now the talk last week in Aspen, Ken Reed, was that Johnson was ready to get it together. And let's see, at the interval, he is sixth. That's not bad. He was doing very, very well, though, when he fell last week in Aspen.
Doing exceptionally well. I think he would have finished in the top 5, maybe even in the top 3, if he hadn't gone down. What the difference is, he seems to be really aggressive. He's finally getting it together. Todd, is that what Billy really feels?
Well, you know, the reason why Billy was so successful before was just that he's so confident. When you have that going for you, there's no one you can't beat. And over the course of the season now, Billy's starting to get his confidence back, and he's skiing a lot better.
Well, you can see that he was really being aggressive quickly into his tuck there. That's the Billy Johnson that we know, and what he did so well when he won here in 1984.
And he goes into the number 6 position. Not bad at all for Billy Johnson. He still excites the crowd. They cheer him. You heard the boos. He is definitely very, very popular. This is Stefan Niederseer, 23 years of age, from Solbach, Austria. And as we look at Niederseer, Todd Brooker, I know you have to get out of here, get on your way. Thank you very much for joining us here today, and a speedy and full recovery.
Well, thank you. You know, I found it really interesting to see what goes on behind the scenes. Molson's has done a terrific job putting on a great race here, but as well, you and Ken have really done a great job, as well as the whole crew at CBC, of broadcasting and putting on tremendous coverage of this race.
Well, thank you, Todd. We hope we'll be covering many more of your races next year. Ken, Niederseer looking a little hesitant here.
He is, although, you know, you got the Austrians, they come, there's one after another. Dieter Bartsch has done an exceptional job with this team, rejuvenating them, getting the confidence built back up, and here you have a winner, a World Cup winner, Anton Steiner leading the race, and one after another coming down. They have no trouble. It was the confidence that was an important factor on today's race, and these skiers, the Austrian skiers, have just rebounded so well.
Don't forget, still to come, the Canadians, Belchek, who should do very well, Rob Boyd, who lives about 100 yards from the finish area here, and of course, some of the younger skiers like Brian Stemmel, Don Stevens, Chris Kent, Gary Athens. Time on the left belongs to Steiner. Niederseer into the number 8 position. So it is still Steiner, followed by Meyer, Stock, Zurbriggen, and Heintzer. From France, this is 21-year-old Frank Picard. He was 15th in Sweden.
Look at that time, 5th at the interval, 8.85 behind. You know, he's known as a Super G skier, and that is the kind of thing that serves the skier well here today. Really standing on the ski, carrying the speed around, not letting the ski slide at all. Not unlike some of the other downhills where you have to really only edge as much as you can. Today, you cannot let that ski slip at all, and he's keeping good and low. If we get Picard into the top 10, it's going to be great and making it even more international race. And certainly as we wait for the Canadian skiers to come down, that's just exceptional for the World Cup.
He is into the top 10 indeed. Not bad, starting from the number 22 position. This is American Michael Brown. He's 24 years of age from Vail, Colorado. Where the women, of course, raced earlier today. Laurie Graham with a strong second-place finish.
Interesting technique that Brown has. He's very, almost looks like a noodle on his skis, very relaxed, drops his hands down by his side rather than being aggressive and pushing forward. You can see they're down by his side, not really pushing forward like some of the earlier top racers, but he's a good glider. He only, again, edges as much as he has to. At the interval, standing 18th. Coming around, he's just bounced off the fence. He was very wide, much wider than the earlier skiers, and that is put him down.
Right here. The American Michael Brown down.
You see, he was much wider than some of the earlier skiers. Tried to recover, turning away from the fence, but he simply had too much momentum. Bounced off the protective fence, the willy bags behind, and back onto the course. The safety did the job it was meant to do.
Thursday, Dynasty.
You're not going to hurt Blake, Alexis. No matter how hard you try, you're not.
Alexis is having a bad day.
Denver Carrington is my turf, not yours.
It seems, Alexis, that they're cancelling all the South China Sea oil leases that used to belong to you and Blake.
What?
And giving them to somebody named Ben Carrington.
You double-crossed me, damn you! Nobody said that to me!
Dynasty at 8:30, followed by the Colbys at 9:30. Explosive drama, Thursday night on 9.
In only 1 year, as many as 79 Australian children under the age of 4 have drowned in private pools. It only takes a moment's distraction, as little as 5 seconds, for them to wander innocently beyond help. So don't let your child become a statistic. Call ARC now for a quote on an approved ARC pool safety fence.
Every day, everywhere, more and more people are reaching for the goodness of a Mars bar. Not just because a Mars tastes so good, but because a Mars gives you the wholesome nourishment of full cream dairy milk, natural cane sugar, glucose from wheat, and thick milk chocolate. It's the goodness and nourishment in a Mars bar that helps sustain you throughout your day.
Mars a day helps you work, rest, and play.
Gillette is changing the face of shaving. First we made it closer. Now we're making it smoother. Introducing new Contour Plus with lubricating strip. It actually releases lubricants to glide the razor more smoothly. Smoothness like you've never felt before. New Contour Plus. First we made it closer, now we've made it smoother.
Check out the change in the Ford light truck range. Econovan and Econovan Maxi, the economical vans. More models with muscle, even a 4-wheel drive. Ford Courier, now with super cabs, with super practical interior load space. Comfortable new crew cabs, tough sons of trucks. New electronically injected V8 power to keep the rugged F-Series on top of the heap. Check out the change in the Ford light truck range now.
Here is Rob Boyd from Whistler. Rob talked to Steve Armitage before the show, said the pressure will not affect him.
Well, this is the race of his life. Here he is running on his own home mountain. I can speak from same experience, having done that at Lake Louise for the final race. And he's down in the compression. No problem. Ended up in the fence. Look at that. He's disappointed. Look at that. He's so disappointed. Came over the bump in the middle of the Weasel. No problem, but when he landed, you see the ski, his right ski went out of control and knocked him over on his side, and there was no way he could recover. Very, very steep through that section, and again, very icy. You simply cannot make a mistake.
Frank Pone, 21 years of age, 3rd year on the World Cup circuit, and he is 9th at the interval, Ken, not bad at all, when he is starting from the number 35 position.
Very good result. Again, the course will be deteriorating slightly, although because it is so hard, so bulletproof, it's not going to be that much. But running from this far behind, you know what's been going on. You've been able to have reports up from the bottom. Picard did so well, finishing in the top 10, and he maybe is taking that example and really putting it to good work. This is great because the French have not had a particularly good year in downhill. Bit of trouble off the bump. Long flight off the second jump of Franz's hop.
Paul could have almost flown the finish line. Still, yes, he is into the top 10. An excellent result.
And he took a different line, and look at, he's very, very happy. That's one of the best French results on the year.
Here is Lionel Ray, another French skier. In fact, you know, that is the first top 15 result for Frank Paul.
Well, the French are really rolling. You know, they've got a Swiss coach, Jean Tischhauser. He seems to have maybe picked out the line on this course because the whole team is doing well. He's 18th at the interval, but you've got to be aggressive on this lower part of the downhill if you want to make up some time.
The leader is Anton Steiner, followed by Meyer, Stock, Zurbriggen, and Heinzer. Up next, Don Stevens, Chris Kent, Brian Stemmel, and Gary Athens.
Bit tentative off the jumps. We may see a third French skier into the top 15.
Yes, the French have 3 skiers, Paul, Picard, and now Ray in the top 15. And here is Don Stevens, the 22-year-old from Red Mountain here in BC.
Brian, his buckle on his left boot is undone. It's 22nd at the interval, but now on the lower part, this is where it's important. With that buckle undone, you can see it sticking out. Just his second buckle down on his left foot. And down here, it's so important to have that boot tight on your ski because that's where you really get the carve out of the ski. That's going to cause him some difficulty. He was 22nd at the interval. Stevens is good on stuff like this. He really can let it go. He's got a good low tuck. No problem on the jump. We'll see how much that buckle on being undone has affected him. He's made up some time.
Wow, he has made up time indeed. Don Stevens, much to the delight of this record crowd, 22nd at the interval, is now in the top 15. Here is Chris Kent from Lake Louise. It was Chris that was 13th 1 year ago at Panorama. And like Stevens, 22nd at the interval.
He was 9th in one of the training runs on Thursday. And what Chris said, you know, I'm not really happy with my season, but just like last year at Panorama, I've got to the point where I say, I'm just going to let it go. It's my last chance to, and what I like to do is I like to race downhill and have fun. Look at, he's really being aggressive, ducking his head, trying to get as much speed out of this course as he can.
Right now, one Canadian standing in the top 15. That's Donnie Stevens. Time on the left. A tremendous time belongs to the leader, Anton Steiner. Kent will not go into the top 15. Chris Kent is 25th. And up next is 19-year-old Brian Stemmel. He is the 1985 NORAM champion. At the interval, he is 14th. That is very, very good because Stemmel is strong on the bottom part of the course.
That's the best Canadian result so far. We remember that Stevens, who is presently in the top 15, was 22nd. So Stemmel has a chance if he can carry the speed on the lower part. Again, he's one of the younger Canadian skiers, the new wave, who are really have been grounded in all 3 disciplines. They've got good technical grounding, and that's going to serve him well on the course today because you've got to work the ski to really carry the speed.
Listen to this big crowd as Stemmel tries to crack the top 15. Yes! Brian Stemmel into the top seed. Brian's parents, Wilf and Andrea, here this week from Aurora, Ontario. His best ever World Cup performance.
Well, wasn't that wretched luck for Peter Mueller? He fell with the race and the championship within his grasp.